The following program, Live and Learn, is made possible by Aging Partners. Find out more on their website.
Hi everybody, welcome to Live and Learn. My name's Kim Hachia. My guest this afternoon is Laura Black, and we are going to be talking about women traveling alone together. Stay tuned.
Today I'll be talking with Jonathan Burleson to discuss the upcoming open enrollment period for people with Medicare and all the insurance opportunities that are available to you.
Hello everyone and welcome to Live and Learn. I'm your host Jerry Renaud. We have a very special guest today. It's the Executive Director of the Capital Humane Society, Matt Macero. He's going to be talking about all of the different things that are going on at the Humane Society and has a couple of little guests as well. Don't go away.
Hello, I'm Julie Masters. Palliative care and hospice are topics of interest to people faced with serious illness and along with those at end of life. Today, we will be joined by Dr. Shelby Hopp, Assistant Professor and Palliative Care Physician at UNMC and Children's Hospital in Omaha. We'll also have Dr. Natalie Manley, Associate Professor, Geriatrician, and Hospice Physician with UNMC and in the Omaha community. Stay tuned.
This and more on today's Live and Learn.
Hi everybody, welcome to Live and Learn. My name's Kim Hachia. Once again, I'd like to thank our friends at Aging Partners and at LNK-TV for producing the show for us today. It's great to be in the studio. My guest today is Laura Black. She has a very familiar face, actually, to me, but also voice, because Laura, for years, was a radio host for Nebraska Public Media. You were there long enough to be through very many iterations of that brand.
30 years.
30 years. And that gig kind of ended for you last year, but even before that ended, you had started kind of a second career as what you call an ambassador, helping women sort of fulfill their dreams traveling. So welcome to the show, Laura.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah.
Yes, the travel group is an all-women's group, and they're kind of rare around the country. I don't know, we're one of maybe a dozen or so. But our founder, Ann Folby Olson, who works for Executive Travel, was noticing that the percentage, 65% of their group tours were solo women travelers. And she thought, well, you know, this would be a great thing if women could travel together. And it's great to travel with couples and everyone, but there's just something different about traveling with other women.
And so, is there a typical woman that wants to travel solo, or what's the demographics of that?
Our literature says 55 plus, but we've had mothers and daughters and sisters. We even had 80-year-old friends that had been friends since kindergarten meet up on one of my trips. And, you know, so anyone can enjoy traveling. If you're solo, if you want to have a little company and maybe feel a little bit safer, you can travel with our group.
So that's kind of one of the things that group travel sort of helps is with the safety. What are other things that the just group travel offers to just the general traveler, but maybe to the women that are part of your demographic? I guess that's a weird term, but
well, we like to
clients.
keep our groups small, like 20, and I think, you know, many people have been on, you know, group tours that are really large. Well, a small group, by the time the 10-day tour is up, you'd be surprised how many close friendships have been developed. And, you know, it's great at our age, you know, 55 plus. We've had losses in our lives, you know, kids have moved out of the house, and here's an opportunity to make new friends.
Right. You told me that you do sort of a post-tour assessment, and that you ask people what do they to describe the tour, and that one of the things that they frequently describe is camaraderie, friendship, fellowship, having somebody to share a glass of wine with at the end of the day and say, wow, wasn't that thing we saw at that bridge weird or beautiful or whatever? And I can understand that. I can see why that would be an important thing.
It's very true. I liken it to a sisterhood, because when you come back and you've got all those great memories, you've made new friends, but you've also shared in the same adventure. And, you know, those special times are going to be with you for a long time.
Yeah. I think while we're talking, we're going to roll some images of just trips that you guys have taken. How many tours have you, when did your company get started, and then did the pandemic affect it?
Oh, yes, like everything else. our company started in about 2018.
Okay.
And we were just kind of getting off the ground, and then the pandemic. So we have an upcoming Greece tour that I lead in September, and it had been moved 4 times. Like every other group in the country and all the airlines, you know, but we're trying to get back, and everyone is so anxious to travel. So, you know, it's what we do. It's a great time, not only for the travelers, but for myself as an ambassador. We're probably the only group in the industry that sends an ambassador. And it's someone who can, you know, kind of keep things going smooth. We always meet up with a tour guide in the different countries who speak the language, and they're the ones that are in control. But, you know, I kind of help with the little everyday things. And sometimes, you know, it's just that someone needs a hug or, you know, a listening ear. And that's what an ambassador does. They're there to help out.
Right. I kind of think of the ambassador maybe, and I've not been on one of your trips, but kind of the den mother that has the giant purse who can open it and say, here, I have sunscreen. Here, I have masks. Here, I have chopsticks, or whatever that you might need along the way with your magical giant purse. And
backpack, yes.
I don't know if you have that, but that would be so helpful to, and just have a friendly face who kind of knows what's going on and can kind of knows the ropes and knows that. Because I imagine for some people, if this is a first tour, that, you know, or a first trip to Europe, that, you know, they don't know what they're doing, and that can be a little bit unnerving.
Yeah, a little bit daunting. And that's what we're there for. In fact, we start way ahead of the trip. We have a private Facebook page for those individual trips. And so we try to get as many people on it that are on Facebook. So we start answering questions, we start, you know, putting information about the country, and just so that everybody can kind of get a feel even before they, you know, take that first step onto the airplane.
I know you told me that in, 2012, you spent 2 weeks traveling Europe alone.
I did.
And that you enjoyed it, and it was empowering and very cool, but maybe a little lonely.
Yes. I mean, I had a great time, and, you know, there were a few situations like, well, if I do this, I can get myself out of this, and which was really empowering, like you said. But then, you know, I thought, you know, maybe at this age, maybe it would be kind of nice to travel with a group. And it just happened that Anne had thought of this idea, you know, and wanted some ambassadors, and I was one of the lucky 4 to be chosen to be doing that. And I really, really enjoy traveling with women because who doesn't need a new friend? And
right. So are the things women are looking for on a trip different than if they're traveling with a partner?
You know, yes, we do set up our trips with women in mind. We try to do like some of the cooking classes that we can find. We do wine tastings, cheese tastings. We did a fantastic thing in Ireland that I never even thought about getting to do, and that was going to a farm where there were hawks. And so we had our leather gloves on, and the hawks would swoop in and land, and the handler would give them a little treat. You know, he said it was tofu, but we all know that was not the case.
Right.
But, you know, when would I ever do something like that? When would any of our travelers be able to do that?
Right. What an interesting thing. Yeah. And I mean, it sounds, I don't know if it's sexist to say this, but men and women often have different interests. And women may be really interested in going to, you know, the original Harrods, and men are just like, don't make me shop. And so I can see how having a trip that sort of, I don't want to say stereotypically, but it is sort of stereotypical, that would be sort of cater to that sort of interest and need and desire. So you told me that you have a sort of Laura's 10 Commandments for traveling, and that one of the commandments is that you will make liberal use of the F word, but your F word is?
And now that we have everyone's attention, that F word is flexibility, and I can't take credit for it. I happened to be on a mission trip to Honduras a few years back, and we were up in the mountains in the compound, and the head nurse, you know, did an orientation, and she said, I want to tell you what my favorite F word is, and that's flexibility. And I try to, use that a lot in, the writing that we put out there as far as, what you can expect when you travel. And especially now, you need a lot of patience and flexibility, and, you just kind of go with the flow. But, it was a little bit tongue-in-cheek. I just kind of wanted to
As a person who just got back from a very short trip to Chicago, I can see flexibility really is important. If you need to be flexible enough to kind of put up with some of the craziness of your fellow travelers, and maybe you had something completely planned and it fell through, or something really cool on our trip. Two things I absolutely had no planning on doing, and we ended up going to a parade that I didn't know was happening until we got there, and then we found out there was a free concert at Millennium Park, and I said, hey, do you want to go to this? And we went to this free concert. Cool. And we kind of jettisoned other things that we decided to do, but we had the flexibility and the, we were just said, let's do it. We're in Chicago, let's find something fun to do. So are most of your trips overseas? I know that there's some that are stateside, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So
we do domestic tours, and in fact, we did a lot of them at the beginning of last fall when we were able to, with the vaccines being in place, we could do some domestic tours. But this year we've been trying to, put those trips like Greece, which had been delayed for 4 years, back into the schedule. And it's been great. We've been to Ireland and Italy, and of course coming up in Greece, and then Iceland is coming up again too. So
the I countries.
Yeah. So really, and we always ask for input. We have a survey at the end of every trip. We want people to give us some information, and tell us, where do you want to go? Where's that dream location? Someplace that maybe you always wanted to go.
Yeah.
And we, take that into consideration, and who knows, may come up next year.
Yeah. Well, I think the idea of women traveling, in groups or together. I think your tagline is something like traveling solo together, which I think is really an interesting sort of tagline. And I'm intrigued by the idea because I can envision myself maybe someday doing something like that. And I think a lot of women, I've had other friends that have gone on trips with you, and they've all come back just saying it was a great opportunity. And I think as we move ahead, more and more people will be doing this and just saying, bucket list going to Iceland, spouse says no way, and let's just do it then.
We have a lot of that. You could be a retiree, perhaps you join us, for your 2-week vacation, you're still working, or perhaps, your husband doesn't like to travel at all, he wants to go fishing, but says, hey, go ahead. And he knows too, they're in good hands because it's a safe way to travel. We take care of you from the moment you step on the plane to go somewhere to your destination until you get back to your airport, your base. We have your back.
Yeah, that's good feeling. I've done tours with other groups, and that is a good feeling to know that kind of all those details are happening, kind of running in the background, kind of behind the scenes, and everything is kind of taken care of. And it does reduce that anxiety a lot. I think does keep a lot of people from traveling because maybe you're not as flexible as you wish you think that you are. So anyway, Laura, thanks. We are close to the end of time, and I appreciate today that you took some time out to come talk about women of the Midwest and women traveling alone together. So I love that.
Yes, I love to talk travel, so.
I know you do.
Anytime.
I know you do. So anyway, thank you very much. And I'd like to remind our viewers that it's never too late to live and learn about the world around us traveling.
My kid has been asking for this hot new gaming thing, and I was like, okay, he had a birthday coming up anyway. So I finally find the video game online, in stock. Thing is, it was from this shoddy website full of typos. That's when I remembered a tip I got from the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Bogus website, this is a shopping scam. Got us matching t-shirts instead.
Recognize fraud sooner,
He loves his.
so your money lives longer. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Hello, I'm Barb Tyler, and I'm delighted to welcome Jonathan Burleson today, who is the administrator of the State Health Insurance Assistance Program with the Department of Insurance. Jonathan, please tell exactly what the assistance program is, or SHIP as it's normally called. What is it?
Perfect. Thank you, Barb. I appreciate you having me today. SHIP, Nebraska SHIP, State Health Insurance Program. What we are is a federally funded program through the ACL, the Administration for Community Living. That federal funding, provides a national network of SHIPs throughout the entire U.S. We're typically managed by a state agency. Here in Nebraska, we're managed by the Nebraska Department of Insurance.
And you help Nebraskans sort through all the choices that they have? Is that kind of what you do? Because you don't sell anything.
That's correct. So what SHIP exists to do is to provide unbiased Medicare education and counseling. We certainly do not sell insurance, nor do we endorse or promote insurance companies or products. We exist to, again, provide unbiased education regarding that topic of Medicare.
Okay. So when people hear open enrollment, what exactly does that mean? And is this only for seniors or to any Nebraskan that we may need health insurance?
Sure. So Medicare open enrollment is specific to those individuals who are enrolled in the Medicare program currently. Open enrollment begins October 15 and it runs through December 7th of each year. During that time period, people with Medicare are evaluating their prescription drug plan options or those Medicare Advantage plan options. Definitely, it's an important time.
So there's, as I know, I'm getting to that point of looking around. So there's so many options. So you can take in a conversation, they make an appointment, they'll come in, and you can walk them through, find out first of all what they need, and then you can say, well, this is what this plan has and so forth?
Yeah, definitely. So one of our most popular services is providing one-on-one education. Typically during the open enrollment season, people are able to make appointments with our program office and get that one-on-one analysis of, comparing what options they have available. If it's a person who has a prescription drug plan in place, even if they're happy with that plan in the current year, they are really encouraged to evaluate those options and compare their current plan to what other options exist within the next calendar year. We want to remind folks that Medicare drug plans, Advantage plans, they work on a one-year contract, and so every year changes can occur.
So this open enrollment is for a limited time. Go over the dates and tell us what happens if you miss the date, because I think the dates can get kind of fuzzy for some people.
Yeah, definitely. So, Medicare's open enrollment, again, is October 15th through December 7th. There is another open enrollment that is kind of occurring at the same time that is kind of confusing, that open enrollment for the insurance available through the open market, the marketplace. Certainly that is a different open enrollment season for folks with Medicare. Remember, October 15th through December 7th. So if a person unfortunately misses that opportunity and does not make any changes to their plan, certainly their existing plan that they have in place this year, if available next year, will simply roll over and continue to be their insurance moving into the next calendar year. If that plan that they have this year is not available next year and they were not aware of that and they did not do anything during open enrollment, that individual would receive notification at the beginning of the year with instructions to take some action, definitely.
So they can just call in, make a one-on-one appointment, and you can go over all this in detail for them. So, good.
Definitely.
And no cost involved.
That is what's great about this program is, remember, we are federally funded to provide this unbiased education. I dislike using the word free, but certainly there is no cost for our services.
Good. Well, another area that you oversee, and people are getting phone calls these days, are any frauds and scams that come along with this program. And you oversee this program called, you'll have to tell me exactly, SMP.
Yeah, SMP, the acronym standing for Senior Medicare Patrol. SMP is also a national program, and there is an SMP office in all 50 states and U.S. territories as well. Here in Nebraska, the SHIP office administers the SMP. What we do on that side of our office is we work to educate individuals about Medicare fraud and scams, and certainly educate individuals on what they can do to help protect themselves from that activity. Medicare fraud is definitely a prevalent problem. It was first estimated back in 2014 that Medicare overall loses $60 billion annually. And unfortunately, that has been a consistent estimate every year since then. So preventing scams and fraud is definitely an important thing, especially when we're talking about individuals' health care. You know, certainly the $60 billion is something to take note of, but our focus at the SHIP office is reminding folks to protect themselves individually. We don't want folks to be losing out on their, their benefits, or be denied benefits, or see a delay in receiving benefits because of someone else's fraudulent activity.
So again, as I was researching this, you have what you call fraud warriors, which I thought was a great term. So they can always call in and discuss this with them, but you also do outreach presentations on your SHIP program and fraud.
Yeah, definitely. So the Nebraska SHIP, we do have fraud warriors. Those fraud warriors, they exist to educate Nebraskans about Medicare. One of the tools that the fraud warriors have available to them is our Medicare Bingo. Medicare Bingo is provided within senior centers, assisted living communities, etc. Any place that is interested in being able to help educate folks through, a fun format. It's definitely more effective than having someone just kind of stand up there and drone on about facts. Medicare Bingo is so much funner.
Much more. So if people, as you get phone calls, what should they look for as a red flag that say that this may or may not be a scam?
Great question. So when we are looking at phone calls in Nebraska, first and foremost, folks, certainly we do want to remind people, if you don't recognize the phone number, just don't answer the phone. Certainly if it's somebody who does need to get a hold of you, they should be able to leave you a voicemail allowing you to call them back. But if you do answer a phone call and it seems to be an individual who seems to know some information about you, definitely, proceed with caution. We really encourage folks to protect their information. Don't share your personal information with someone who just happens to call. And maybe they know a little bit of information about you, but they're fishing for just that little bit of extra information to round out what they need to complete their scams.
So don't give them any more. Just say, or ask for a phone number, and they can call you back or something like that.
Yeah, if a person is fishing for information, red flags to listen for is, perhaps they're offering you a free back brace in exchange for your Medicare number. Other scams in Nebraska include folks calling and offering a plastic Medicare card. Medicare cards are still paper cards. So one of the calls into our office recently was, I got a phone call from somebody saying that I needed to send them my paper Medicare card, and they would send me a plastic card. Very much a fraudulent phone call. This individual's instincts kicked in, and he disengaged from that phone call, and certainly he reported that to our office, which we encourage folks to do.
I just saw something on TV the other day about that back brace scam. That was interesting to me. So people should really be aware of what they have been getting. They should recognize their doctor's name, and then proceed with caution if that's the case.
Definitely. So one of the other things that we encourage folks to do is to detect, and that's using Medicare's reports, the Medicare summary notice, the explanation of benefits. Open that up and review it. Look at what's being charged on your behalf, what's being paid for by the Medicare program. You're looking for billing for something twice, billing for something you didn't receive. If you see something funny, report it. Definitely call the provider and ask, what is this billing? Perhaps it's just human error that can be fixed, but if it is something that's potentially fraud or abuse, the Nebraska SHIP office can certainly help.
Yeah, so definitely call them then. So even though it's embarrassing and they ended up getting scammed, what should they do?
Getting scammed can certainly be a difficult situation, and embarrassment might come with that, but certainly we encourage folks to put that embarrassment to the side and really go out and report that instance, because no action is just going to result in potentially a really bad day in the future, for sure. So folks are encouraged to report it, specifically if it is Medicare fraud or abuse, the Nebraska SHIP office is certainly available to help with that reporting. If it's something where banking information or credit card information was shared, certainly it's wise to call that bank or that entity to report that activity as well.
So should they also call the police, or is that something that you would report to the police?
Certainly the individual would want to make that phone call.
Okay, okay. Well, I wanted to thank you for taking time today to come in. Anything else you'd like to share about either program?
You know, certainly I appreciate the time again, Barb. It's been wonderful speaking with you today. The only thing I just want to reiterate is the fact that we are an office that offers confidential and unbiased education. And certainly we are available to any person with Medicare, friends, family, relatives of individuals with Medicare. And certainly remember, Medicare is not just for individuals who are over age 65. People younger than 65 also do qualify for Medicare, and we are available to help those folks as well.
Well, lots of good information, so I thank you for coming in today.
Well, thank you very much, Barb. I appreciate being here.
Well, it was my pleasure. And thank you all for tuning in today. And remember, it's never too late to live and learn.
So, I'm playing with the dog, and I get this robocall from the Social Security Administration saying my card had been suspended and I had to call them back immediately. And that's when I remembered a tip from the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Random robocall? This is a Social Security scam.
Recognize fraud sooner,
Robots.
so your money lives longer. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live and Learn. I'm your host, Jerry Renaud. We have a very special program today. We have a guest from the Capital Humane Society, Matt Machero, who is the executive director. And I think a lot of people don't know all of the different really great things that the Capital Humane Society is doing here in Lincoln. And Matt is here to tell us all about those things. Matt, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
First things, I guess first is what you are probably known for lots of people is the adoption of lots of different animals. And you've brought a couple along with you today. We have Fred and Dobby, some kittens.
Yes.
So let's talk about those and let's take a look at those. And
so they're in here wrestling away right now,
Okay,
but we
good.
got Fred and Dobby, and so they are litter mates, and they are about 10 weeks old, so they are both neutered males, and they actually came to us about a month ago. They were surrendered to us as part of a litter of 4. The people couldn't take care of them anymore, but since they were only 6 weeks old, they weren't old enough for adoption, so they went to a foster home for the last month and hung out in foster care, put on a little weight, grew up a little bit, and they came back this week and got surgery to be neutered and got their microchips and all of that, and so now they're going to be looking for new homes.
well, and I got to tell you, before the show started, we took them out and we just attracted a whole crowd of people out in the hallway because these cats are just adorable.
Yeah, they're very well socialized. You know, the foster parents do a great job of that and getting them used to a lot of different things in their environment and also new people. And you know, Fred really likes to be held. He'll start purring for you, and Dobby here is a little more shy, but likes to play with his brother. See, there you go. He wants to go back in there. He doesn't like the spotlight as much as Fred.
Okay. So tell us about the procedure. If somebody is going to look at this and go, oh, I just got to have one of those cats, what is the process that they would go through?
Yeah, so come on out to the Pylock Pet Adoption Center. So it's out at 70th and Highway 2 and in the same shopping center as the Home Depot. So if somebody's looking to adopt, you can come out anytime that the building is open. So we're closed on Mondays, but then Tuesday through Friday is 11:30 to 7, Saturday and Sundays from 12 to 5. And the public's welcome to walk in anytime that we're open, you know, walk through. If there's a pet that kind of catches your eye that you want to meet, you check in with the front desk staff and they get you checked in to see the animal, you know, look at your ID, check everything in the animal control database, all of that good stuff, and then set you up in a room, bring in the pet and kind of tell you about the animal, learn about your home environment and what you're kind of looking for and see what pet might be a good match. And And if you find the right match, all the paperwork and everything's completed the same day, and then you're on your way with your new pet.
So you can walk in and walk out with an animal.
Yep, same day. Yep. And so there's we got dogs and puppies and cats and obviously kittens, but also smaller critters too. So we see a lot of rabbits and guinea pigs and small rodents like mice and hamsters too. So pretty much something for everybody.
That's interesting. Critters, you call them.
Critters, yep. A lot of critters. We see about 500-600 critters a year in addition to the cats and dogs. So.
Very cool. One of the things that we should talk about is because you have sort of this special deal, and then there's a reason behind this special deal for adopting dogs at this point in time, or puppies. Tell us a little bit about that program.
Yeah, so right now we're doing a dog adoption promotion. That's through the end of the month. So adoption fees on dogs 5 months and older are reduced by 50%, and that's because of the number of dogs in the shelter's care right now. So far this year, we've had an increase of 22% of dogs coming in this year compared to last year, and we're actually on pace to take in the most dogs that we have in a single year since 2014. So quite a big increase in the number of dogs looking for homes, but on the flip side, adoptions are also very strong because more dogs have found new homes this year than they did all of last year and all of 2020 and all of 2019. So. Just a lot of people adopting, but there's also a lot of dogs that are needing the shelter's help. Yeah,
that's a real interesting statistic. Why do you think there are so many dogs?
I think there's a few contributing factors. If you go back and you look over the last 10 years, shelters, including Capital Humane Society, we're seeing a decrease in the number of dogs coming in. And over a 10-year span, it was steadily declining. And you go back to 2018 and 2019, and there was a lot of demand to adopt dogs, and shelters had kind of seen that decrease in intake, so there weren't always as many dogs available that people were looking for, and then the pandemic happens, and the intake intake is declining because of the pandemic, and then on top of that, more people are wanting to adopt, and so you had more people that were adopting during that time, but it was also kind of harder to adopt because most shelters, including Capital Humane Society, we went to appointment-based because of the pandemic. And so you had this high demand and not as much supply. And so, I think there were other entities that were probably kind of increasing the supply of dogs, through breeding and all of that. And so now that we've come out of the pandemic and, there's still this high demand to adopt, but there's also just a lot more dogs in the community through those other sources.
Okay. Now, you have, I just think this is fabulous that you have this sort of, I think it's an incentive program for people who don't have a lot of money, but you're offering some really interesting services, and the program is, what is it called here? It's the Positive Impact Project. And there are all kinds of things that you are helping people along with. I think this is a great program.
Yeah, so we started that in May, and so it's at a separate location. So we have our 2 shelters, but we now have a 3rd location. It's over at 16th and South, so in the same shopping center as Open Harvest and Meadowlark Coffee. And we started that program in May, and what it does is it provides affordable preventative veterinary care to income qualified pet owners. So a dog owner could come in if they qualify, and they can get their dog a rabies vaccination, a distemper vaccination, Bordetella vaccination, microchip, 3-month flea and tick preventative, and get them dewormed for $40.
Wow.
And for cats, they can come in and get the basic vaccinations and flea treatment, microchip for $25. And so it's very affordable. These individuals, they want to provide the best for their pets, but financial constraints make it difficult to do so, and so this program gives them that opportunity and keep their pets healthy and happy as the kittens are going crazy.
Yes, I hear that.
But also the program also offers a pet food and pet supply pantry as well, because again, certain limitations on finances make it difficult at times to even buy food for their pet.
Well, and everything is getting more expensive these days.
It's getting more expensive, but also too, there's things that are donated to the shelter that we can't necessarily use in the shelter, and so those items are in the pantry for them to pick through if they need them. And everybody, if you have a dog, you want your dog to have fun and you want to have toys, so even things like toys are in that pantry, and And you know, maybe they can't afford to go and buy their dog 2 or 3 toys, but they would love to, and the pantry gives them access to that.
Well, and you also, as I understand it, provide if they are moving into an apartment and there is some sort of down payment that
Yep.
has to be made for, if you're having pets, you're also helping with that.
Yeah, so we were one of the recipients of the Union Bank Big Give, and so that $100,000 has allowed us to expand the Positive Impact Project right away. And so going forward, we're offering vouchers for income qualified pet owners for a variety of things, including canine spay-neuter, assistance with landlord pet deposits, assistance with behavior and training
Very
to
good.
be able to go to a trainer, and then also with grooming assistance, because you know it can cost some money to go to a groomer. And so
Oh, yes.
all of those new resources are available, and you know, help these individuals take care of their pet, you know, more than just the vaccinations and the food, but all those other things too.
Yeah, I just think it's a great program, and I'm just delighted that it's out there and giving some people some opportunities.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about some of the fundraising opportunities, because that is one of the things that you are involved with, and there are several different kinds of events that take place during the course of the year. My favorite, of course, is the golf tournament, which I played in, but we didn't play very well, but it was still lots of fun.
You and me both.
But let's talk about some of the events. There we've got a picture of the golf event there.
Yeah, so this is the Tails and Tees Golf Tournament. So this was an event the shelter did many years ago and hadn't done for quite some time. So we brought it back this year, and it was in July over at Holmes Lake Golf Course. And you know, it was a great turnout. We lucked out on the weather. It wasn't super hot, and you know, had 27 teams and raised over $18,000 to help support getting pets ready for the adoption program and all the other, you know, just general animal care too at the shelter.
Terrific. And you have some other events that take place during the course of the year as well.
Yeah, so we have our Tails and Trails Pet Walk, which was in September, and that was out at Glacial Till near Palmyra. And that event, you know, is a pet walk and festival, and so that was the first time we were able to have the full-scale pet walk since May of 2019.
Right.
And so it was great to be able to get back out and do that event, and that event raised over $32,000, and we'll be bringing that event back again. It'll be moving back to the spring next year, so it'll be in May of next year, and it'll be back at Glacial Till again.
Right, and you just had one not too long ago in October, sort of with Halloween.
Yeah, we did a Tails and Treats event, so there's a reoccurring theme here, but that was a trunk or treat type event. It was for children and also for dogs to go through and do trunk or treating out at the adoption center, and you know, had really nice weather. We had 20 vendors, over 170 participants, and so that was a good time, and that event raised a little over $3,000 for the care of the animals and all of that.
Yeah. So and then you have one more. It's a little more of a formal event.
Yeah, we have the Tails and Ties dinner, which was in May of this year, and that was at the Cornhusker downtown. And again, that was the first time we were able to have the full-scale dinner since 2019, and we're, you know, full house and auction items, and we share stories of pets that have come through the shelter and maybe needed some medical care before they could find their new homes, and pets that were up for adoption and all of that fun stuff, and that event raised $110,000 for the shelter. So yeah.
Yeah, they're all terrific events and lots of fun, and we encourage people to at least go to one of them during during the course of the year.
Yeah.
You have some other exciting things going on because you are renovating.
Yeah, so our admissions and assessment center, so our original building on Park Boulevard, it's still in operation and it is used every day. So that is where all the animals start out at. So every animal that comes to the Capital Humane Society starts at that location. And that's where our vet clinic is, our surgery center. And actually about 80% of what the organization does, all the programs and everything that we do, operate out of that facility. And that facility was built in the 60s. It's had, you know, additions and renovations over the years, but was in need of an overhaul, basically. And so we started that remodel in April of last year, and it's still ongoing right now. But we finished phase 1 in May of this year. That was the whole front facade, the customer service areas, administrative areas, a handful of animal care areas, and then also the big thing was all the mechanical equipment. So air handlers and boilers and air conditioners,
Sure.
not super fun things to talk about, but
Right.
all of those things were very old. They were well over 20 years old, and so all of those were replaced. And so now when the public comes in, that lobby and the customer service area, it's very quiet, it's bright, lots of natural light, and welcoming and inviting. The previous customer service lobby area was very loud. The dog kennel
Yep.
entrance was right behind the front counter, and it was very loud and noisy, and so much better environment for the public, the animals coming in, and also staff and volunteers. So, and now we're in phase 2, which is going on right now. Should hopefully be done by the end of the year. But that's all the cat care area. So all the cat rooms are being updated. The animal care kitchen, grooming, laundry, all of that is being updated as well. And so in the end, it's going to just be a much better environment for all the animals coming into the shelter, and also more efficient for staff to work in.
Right. Very cool. And before we run out of time, let's talk about volunteers, because you really have the need for lots of people to help out.
Yeah, so we have lots of volunteer opportunities. We can't do what we do without the help of the community and volunteers. So, people coming in and walking the dogs, socializing cats, just helping with general animal care duties, dishes, laundry, all those things are just as important. And so helping with that, but also helping over at like the Positive Impact Project and helping with the pet food and supply pantry, and also foster care. The 2 kittens, Fred and Dobby, they benefited from a foster parent taking them into their home and taking care of them. So there's a wide range of volunteer opportunities, and people can check those out on our website. And if you want to get involved, sign up to be a volunteer or foster parent.
Wonderful. And I also want to make sure we talk about, there is a lost and found map that is now on the website, which is very nice.
Yeah, so that we recently launched at the end of September. So one of our staff members, Jacob, was able to build and code this lost and found pet map. And so now the public, they can go on to there. If they've lost their pet, they can zoom into specific neighborhoods and see if somebody has found their pet. And so any lost dog or found cat or whatever it is, they get listed on the map. And also the animals that come to the shelter as lost are placed on there as found animals. So it's a resource there. Hopefully more pets can get reunited quickly, and they don't have to end up at the shelter before they're able to be reunited. And so we're excited about it to see if we can get more pets reunited quickly.
It all sounds wonderful. You are doing a fantastic job. Thank you
thank
for all that you do. Thanks for coming down and talking to us today, and I hope you'll come back again. We'll bring some more animals, and we'll see if we can get some adopted. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of you for tuning in today. I'm your host, Jerry Renaud. Stay safe, stay healthy, and remember, it's never too late to live and learn.
I was doing some shopping and got a pop-up on my laptop. Computer had a virus. So I called the number on the page, and the guy on the phone wants to take control of my screen to sort it out. Then I remember a tip I got from the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Control my screen. This is a tech support scam. Thankfully, my order still went through.
Recognize fraud sooner so your money lives longer. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julie Masters, and welcome to Live and Learn. Thanks to LNK TV, Dave Norris, and Aging Partners for producing this show. Also, thank you to the other Live and Learn hosts for your encouragement. Finally, a special thank you to the late Lita Powell Drake. You are missed. Now, I'm pleased to have 2 guests with us today. Joining us via Zoom, Dr. Shelby Hopp, Assistant Professor and Palliative Medicine Physician at UNMC and Children's Hospital in Omaha. And joining her is Dr. Natalie Manley, Associate Professor in the Division of Geriatrics, Gerontology, and Palliative Medicine at UNMC. Dr. Manley is a geriatrician and serves as a hospice medical director in the Omaha area. Welcome, Dr. Hopp and Dr. Manley.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, delighted to have you here. Thank you so much. So, Dr. Hopp, let's start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and training, and then also why you chose to add palliative care to your practice of medicine?
Yeah, so I have been really lucky to do almost all of my training right here in the Midwest. So I started in Nebraska, went to Iowa, went to Minnesota, and I have landed back here in Nebraska. Happy to be here. I actually started my career in emergency medicine And while I really enjoyed being in the ER and getting to help patients and families in those moments of kind of crisis, I found myself being more and more drawn to the whole person or the human behind the illness that was suffering. And it felt like at that point, palliative care was the best way to learn how to focus on whole person care. So I decided to go back and get extra training to specialize in hospice and palliative medicine.
Very good. Dr. Hopp, thank you. Dr. Manley, can you tell us a little bit about your background in geriatrics and also hospice care? And then why did you add hospice care to your practice of medicine?
Yeah, similar to Dr. Hopp, I also grew up in Nebraska, in Omaha. And during my childhood, we spent quite a bit of time going to visit elderly family members in the nursing home setting. And that was really formative for me and gave me this sense of wanting to help make life better for the people who live in nursing homes. And then during my medical training, I again found that I'm drawn to kind of the older adult population and the idea of taking care of the person as a whole unit and not just any one organ system. And so I found myself drawn to geriatrics. And so I trained in geriatrics. And then over time, I found that hospice is even more so focused with this team-based approach of looking at what matters most to the person and how that fits in with the people that they love and really focusing on that whole person and making sure that they're getting to live their best lives. So that's how I found myself in hospice.
Very good. Dr. Manley, thank you. Dr. Hopp, can you discuss, because we're talking about palliative care and hospice, so can you talk a little bit about what palliative care is? And then also, because you have dual appointments at UNMC and then also Children's Hospital, can you talk a little bit about how palliative care might be the same or different between children and adults?
Yeah, so palliative care is specialized medical care for people living with serious illness. This type of care is focused on providing relief of any types of symptoms or suffering from the stress of the illness. Our goal is really to improve quality of life for the patient and their family, loved ones that are surrounding them. And it's based on the needs of the patient, not their prognosis or anything else going on. So that makes it appropriate at any age or any stage of a serious illness, which means that we help both adults and kids that are living and dealing with these illnesses. So it can be provided right alongside of curative or disease-directed treatment with the rest of their medical care.
So for someone who might be listening to this program and they might think, this would really work for either for me or for my loved one, how could a person request palliative care? And can they do this on their own or do they need to work with their healthcare provider?
Absolutely. So it's probably easiest to work with their healthcare provider. Palliative care is still a growing field, so we're hoping to be everywhere soon. But if you or a loved one is living with serious illness, I would just ask your doctor about how to add palliative care to your treatment team.
Very good. Dr. Hopp, thank you. So Dr. Manley, we've been talking about palliative care, and palliative care is often mentioned in the context of hospice, and yet it's different. So can you talk a little bit about how the two are different, but then also how they can coexist?
Absolutely. So yes, palliative care and hospice definitely do coexist. I like to think of palliative care as a vital philosophy and method for caring for anyone at any time in the course of his or her chronic illness. And then hospice is a team-based program that's covered by the majority of insurances, including Medicare, Medicaid. And the team includes a nurse, a doctor, a social worker, a chaplain, bereavement coordinator, counselor, volunteers, and other team members. A person can choose to enroll in hospice whenever he or she is ready to focus the method of their healthcare entirely on quality of life and comfort. And then also when that person is expected to have a 6-month prognosis or less. And of course, us healthcare providers are not really great at knowing how much longer a person has left. So it doesn't mean that a person is absolutely has a 6-month life expectancy. It can change. One great thing about hospice is that hospice team members come to the person wherever they live. So they come and visit the person in their home. And that hospice team is available for any issues that arise 24/7. But it's important to know that hospice does not provide 24/7 hands-on care. Their job is to be there to support the caregivers that are already in place. It's also important to know that the hospice pays for medications and equipment, such as hospital beds, that are considered to be related to the person's life-limiting illness and that are considered to still be necessary to maintain quality of life. And it doesn't pay for the room and board. So if a person lives at a nursing home, it's not going to pay for the nursing home. That is still paid for by whatever was already paying for it before. So really, kind of overarching, it's a really great team-based program a person can enroll in to help a person live their best life, even while they are dying, and to achieve a good death.
What a powerful statement to help people live their best life, right? And to find wellness in a different context, but to find wellness in terms of the hospice support. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people will say that they might be interested in hospice, but maybe family members and other people might be reluctant to have them go down that path. What would you recommend in terms of helping start that conversation, connecting people to hospice?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there are a lot of misperceptions about hospice. And so the biggest thing I would encourage people to do is just to not be afraid to ask questions. And it's okay to reach out to a hospice and ask them to just sit down and answer some questions or some concerns that you have, because sometimes those concerns might not actually be the way it has to be or is. So that's, I think, the biggest thing is just to open the door to asking questions.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Dr. Hopp, and then a question for you, and then Dr. Manley. What do you wish people knew about palliative care and hospice? And how can we spread the word about what both options can offer people?
That's a great question. I wish that people knew that as palliative care teams, we're here to help them live as best as they possibly can in the face of serious illness. So we're here to be an extra layer of support for them and their families, and right alongside their medical teams. So their medical teams are doing everything they can to help people live as long as possible. And we want to work with them to help focus on helping people live as well as possible.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Manley?
Yeah, in the same line, I want to help people to know that there are a lot of misperceptions and to try to clarify the truth of those things. So sometimes people will ask me, well, if I start hospice, does that mean you're just going to stop all of my medications? And the answer is no. If the person has heart failure, then we'll keep the heart failure medications going because those are important for helping the symptoms. There might be some that we say, gosh, this one actually might be causing you more harm than good at this point. But I want people to know that really hospice is a program that people are entitled to receive. And it's something that is worth checking out when you're coming towards the end of your life. And also just to know that the team really is there to help you be able to live the way that you want to live at the end of your life.
Very good. What I've heard you both talk about is this idea of the support and the team-based approach and asking questions and being engaged with your healthcare provider so that in essence, they're directing the kind of care that you would most desire if you have a serious illness or you're at end of life.
Yeah.
So as we come close to the end of this program, one of the things that I'm hoping to ask all the guests And I'm, again, so grateful to the two of you. So my question is, what brings you hope in your life? And maybe, Dr. Manley, we can start with you, and then Dr. Hopp.
That is a big question. I think for me, the thing that brings hope in my life is seeing all of the people around me doing great things, and knowing that there's lots of people in the world who really do want to be a source of hope for others. And I'll just bring up now, in terms of hospice, I have a experience once with a patient's wife who had said, it's really weird to me because hospice is, I worry that hospice is taking away hope, but hope is actually in the word hospice if you pull out the letters. And that really struck me. So I actually have an artist friend who I asked her to paint that for me. So I think you'll get to see that in just a little bit.
Dr. Manley, thank you. And Dr. Hopp.
Yeah, kind of along the same lines. I think what brings me hope is getting the privilege to connect with people around me, whether that's my own family and friends or the honor to help care for my patients and get to connect with them and their families.
Thank you. What a beautiful statement, the honor to care.
It is.
The honor to care. Well, thank you both very much for participating in this discussion and helping to educate us a little bit more about palliative care and hospice. And for those that are viewing this program, if you would like more information about palliative care in Nebraska, please search for the Palliative Care and Quality of Life Advisory Council for Nebraska. And for those seeking information about hospice, please search for the Nebraska Hospice and Palliative Care Association. Again, Dr. Hopp, Dr. Manley, thank you both very much. And to all of you, it's never too late to live and learn.